And my last point to you, you do not sell your Bitcoin. Thank you.
With Bitcoin finally beginning to follow the stock market yet again, just in time for us to get dumped on, Moon Boys worldwide buckle in as the stock market faces more volatility going into the upcoming CPI print, which will determine everything. As Santa Claus himself packs his bags full of coal for the foolish crypto Moon Boys once more, does Santa Claus have one final trick up his you-know-what? Right now, the price of Bitcoin is in one of its tightest consolidations after previously breaking out of its previous tightest consolidation of the entire year of 2022. And with only roughly a few weeks left of the year, is this truly the calm before the storm? Or will we continue sideways for the next 20 years? Megalert these absolutely time-sensitive alerts. And without any further ado, let's keep trading sideways. If we take a look at Bitcoin right now, after breaking out of this dumpy range, going all the way down to the $15,000 range and the 16,000, roughly 500, trading there for quite a long time, quite a few weeks, we are right now, as of today, desperately trying to hold on to the 21-day moving average, which is the first time we've revisited it since we've broken out of that range back on November 30th. So the very first time since this new month of December has begun. And the Bitcoin price finally now is actually starting to follow the stock market. The stock market has been rallying for the last few weeks, and Bitcoin was not because of FTX and everything with that. But now that the stock market is having a little bit of a dump, Bitcoin, thank goodness, is following and also getting dumped on. But also, with that, the DXY is also kind of dumping as well. The DXY doesn't look great. The DXY had like 2 miserable days of pumpiness, but, we saw that multiple times over the past few weeks. Here, so nothing really new. Ever since really November 10th, the DXY has just looked like complete garbage. And that trend so far has continued, and it absolutely will continue in just a few days if we get another CPI print come in lower than expectations, okay? Make no mistake about it. The DXY will continue to get completely slaughtered if the CPI is positive for Bitcoin in the coming few days. Now, it's also super expected that we got a bounce here with the DXY. We've been talking about this for a while. It barely went up, had like 2 green days. Right now it's red. Will it turn green by the end of the day? Who cares? Who really knows? Ideally, this should have a little more juice to the upside because this is a pretty big support zone. We spent months flipping this from May until August, flipping it as support, initially as resistance, flipping it into support. So it should have some pretty big strength. But again, keep in mind, over the next few days, we're going to be getting a CPI reading, which if it is good for Bitcoin, this will plummet the DXY and also help the stock market. But overall, people are very bearish right now because, we had 2 red days and everybody all of a sudden thinks that, absolute doom and gloom for the stock market, which is possible. Are we going to get a Santa Claus rally? No indications of that just yet. Over the last 2 days, we did have a drop in the stock market about 3%. 2 pretty red days. And more significantly, falling below the 21-day moving average for the SPX, so that can be significant. But I want to talk about Bitcoin, and before we look at these charts in particular, I want to look at this, and on-chain data showing potentially that minor capitulation is confirmed. We've already seen it, and that is proven here, or shown here at least, by the hash ribbons here. And you can see if we take a zoom in, when we've had these hash ribbons fire this indicator, just like we saw on November 28th, it has marked minor capitulation events and short-term bottoms. Now, also coinciding with that is this, minor sell pressure indicating bottoms as well. We saw it in 2011, 2015, and pretty much right here around 16,000. And look at this, if we zoom in, look at this sell pressure spike that we just saw recently here. Miners are absolutely getting clobbered along with everyone else. And in the past, that has been able to historically point out some bottoms, a bottom for Bitcoin. And as well, all-time high Bitcoin positions are holding despite historic price drop down. So this is also huge. 66% of Bitcoin supply is in the hand of LTH long-term holders, meaning that they've held Bitcoin for over a year. So over half of Bitcoin is being held for at least a year. I mean, again, these are very high metrics showing that people aren't really going anywhere. Again, keep in mind, all of the negativity that's gone on with Bitcoin really doesn't have much to do with Bitcoin. It has to do with bad actors like SBF, right? Sam Bubblebutt, and his beautiful, oh my gosh, beautiful Sweet Caroline, they decided to stick a fork in the crypto space. Again, all of these bad things we're seeing, as always, have nothing to really do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin still works. It's still decentralized. Really nothing bad has happened to Bitcoin itself. It has brought the price down, but overall, I mean, healthier than ever in terms of many key metrics. The main metric that looks bad, obviously, is the stock market looking like trash. But mainly over the next day or so, if we can get back above the 21 day, that's going to be important. We want to see the stock market rally a little bit. I mean, of course, Bitcoin decided to follow this after we missed the entire pump. But there are a lot of key alts also. I mean, Ethereum's still holding on its 21 day. Not over just yet. We're in the middle of this move, so it's really indecisive on which way this short-term move is going to go before we head into the weekend. But if the DXY fails to hold here, expect a pump. That's the main thing. I'm mainly watching the DXY here and also the stock market. But again, I mean, if we look at Bitcoin's weekly chart, it itself is so oversold and so ready to bounce. Extreme bullish divergence with the RSI on the weekly chart and the price diverging from each other. But again, it is not being acted upon, or it's not going to be able to fulfill that that breakout unless we get some confirmation from the sources controlling everything, which is like the stock market, the economy, the DXY, the US dollar, everything. So that's really important to keep in mind here. And take advantage of over $30,000 in deposit bonuses with BITGET below. Specifically, you get $30 free simply by putting in an email and creating a password and signing up in like 1 minute. And 0 spot trading fees with BITGET as well, and a bunch of other bonuses below also. But as well, if we take a look at the stock market, besides the fact that we're now below the 21-day moving average, we've just gotten a bearish downturn on the MACD on the daily chart. If we take a look, if we pull up the weekly chart, again, everything still looks fine. We're actually holding on the 21-week moving average, so this is fine. This is all short-term noise, in my opinion. Yes, the SPX is below the 21-day moving average now, but it could just as easily just flip and bounce and go above it by tomorrow. There's no confirmation just yet. So that's one thing I think we have to remember is that, yeah, in the short term, yes, very, very short term, day to day, yes, we just had a dump for the last 2 days. You know, things could absolutely change by tomorrow, by next week. And we've been seeing that swing the opposite way. Yesterday, people were more bullish on the DXY. It was going up. And now it already erased all those gains from yesterday. So all it takes is literally less than 24 hours, and these short-term biases flip and they flop. But the long-term biases are this. The DXY topped out back in September, and it's been dumping since. That is a real trend. So that's something to watch, right? People are still caught up in extreme bearishness and kind of ignoring that fact. You know, it is very bearish right now. Obviously, it is very bearish. But the DXY looks as though it has maybe topped out, which is huge news. So you have to factor that into everything. The SPX has been putting in higher lows as well. So ultimately, how bearish is that? Not incredibly bearish. Ever since October, the very beginning of October, SPX is putting in higher lows and higher highs, okay? Now, what people are fearful of is, I mean, everyone can see it. If you look at this chart for a second, okay, we have 4 very clear levels of where the SPX has topped out, going all the way back to the very beginning of 2022. Literally, the entire year of 2022, the SPX has gotten rejected on this line here, okay, over and over and over. So we're at that point again. And we've just recently gotten rejected. Is this going to continue down exactly like it has the last few times? It's possible, but there's absolutely no guarantee that it will. But it absolutely is something we need to be aware of and watching. Because the first step is falling below this 21-day moving average, which we have. But second and more importantly is the weekly moving average, which happened every time we got one of these dumps. And right now we're holding it, okay? Before we fell below on each one of these, you can see it happened on each one. Obviously, if we're going to fall below it and get rejected, we need to fall below the 21-day moving or 21-week. And we're testing that right now. So if we concretely get a big breakdown below that, then in my opinion, that's a confirmation the SPX is about to dump for at least a couple more weeks, right? But it's still way too early to tell. This is right now happening, so it is pretty urgent. Like, it is pretty time sensitive. It's right now, make or break. Are we about to fall through this moving average, or are we about to hold it after getting rejected right at the top here, back basically the beginning of December 1st? Or is this going to spell You know, is it going to be a fake out? Because it very easily could be. But, you know, the thing is, when you have these patterns, these giant patterns like this, where people get very comfortable saying, okay, we got rejected here. Here we go. We're getting rejected again. Here we go. We're about to get rejected again. You know, over time, eventually, all patterns do break. So even though this is a very clear pattern, and it's very easy to see why you might say, wow, we're just about to crash again, because we have the last 3 times the entire year of 2022. Is that possible? 100% it's possible. But eventually, that's not going to be the case, because eventually the stock market will reverse, and it will most likely, let's say it's either this time or next time, it'll come up to here, maybe play around a little bit, and then ultimately break out. It could be this time. But the point is, just because it's happened multiple times does not guarantee that. There is going to be a point where this line does break, and it most likely won't be the first attempt, like right here. Okay, let's say that we do trade sideways for a week and then we end up breaking above it. That is a scenario of exactly how this will get broken. It most likely wouldn't just blast above it, especially considering this, guys. Let's say that we, you know, as the market's kind of waiting for this next CPI reading, let's say that we get a good reading and we concretely break above it. That would be pretty big, and we're only days away from that. So it's still way too early to tell. It absolutely does look bearish right now. Believe me, it does not look good. It also doesn't necessarily look horrible. I mean, we've gotten dumped on so much that, in my opinion, I mean, let's be honest, it looks very crabby. It looks very sideways. And I mean, for pizza's sake, Bitcoin's price literally the entire month, the last 7 days exactly, we've been basically at the exact same price, just trading. I mean, you can see how sideways this is. So you guys, channel, make sure to subscribe to absolutely time-sensitive alerts. Take advantage of over 30,000 free dollars in deposit bonuses with BITGET below, and specifically $30 free simply by signing up. It takes a minute, and also all spot trading on BITGET is free, and there's also amazing rewards with BitGet, Femex, and as well, obviously, like I just said, BITGET below. Without any further ado, it's from me.